Welcome to Thrive, the New Jersey Business Action Center's podcast, where New Jersey businesses learn to grow, connect, and succeed. I'm your host, Melanie Willoughby, Executive Director of the New Jersey Business Action Center. Each episode will explore expert insights, real success stories, and the resources that can help your business take the next step. Whether you're just starting out or expanding across the Garden State, this is where your journey to thriving begins. So we're here today with Donald Newman, and he is the manager of our Office of Small Business Advocacy within the New Jersey Business Action Center. And so I'd like to start asking him a couple of questions about giving us an overview of the Office of Small Business and the core services your team provides to New Jersey entrepreneurs.
Thank you, Melanie. Thank you for the question. So we do a lot of different things for small businesses. The primary thing is just being the first point of contact. You can reach out to us through our live chat and our hotline, and we can answer your business questions, whether you're a startup, you're an existing business that is looking for financing or to grow, or you're maybe at the end of your business life and you want to put together a succession plan so that you can pass the business on to your children or onto a trusted employee that wants to take over the business. All of those things, all of those steps, or you're navigating state government, trying to deal with the regulatory issue that you're facing. The message I always use, and I usually say this at the end of my speeches, is if you have a challenge you're trying to overcome or a vision for your business for the future, or you just need someone to talk to about what you're thinking about, what your plans might be, and you're not sure where to go, come to us. Let's have a conversation, let's talk about it, and let's put a plan together that'll help you overcome the challenges, satisfy your needs, or achieve any of your goals. That's what we do for businesses.
So you're really on the front line of really answering questions for small businesses who really have very few alternatives unless they hire a lawyer or hire an accountant. And so they can come to the Business Action Center for assistance. So what kinds of questions do you get most often from small business owners?
There's two questions that we get probably the most often. One is just about how do I start? Where do I begin? How do I register a business? How do I form an LLC? What is an LLC? What is a sole proprietorship? And how do they affect my business? So we can assist people in both navigating the steps that you need to register and form a business and get a license, or where to get some help to start putting together a business plan, that kind of, those kinds of questions. And then the other questions we get quite often is financing. Where can I get money? I need a grant. I need financing for my business to grow or to overcome a challenge I might be facing at the moment, a cash flow challenge I might be facing. Those are the most common questions that we get.
So how does the helpline team actually work behind the scenes to guide businesses through issues like licensing, permitting, or finding funding opportunities?
A big way we do that is by just being educated, knowing where these resources are available so that we can connect you. We are not a financing organization. We don't loan money. We have one grant, which we administer, but all the other grants come from other agencies. We don't license any businesses. But what we do is we have vast amount of general knowledge about all of those subjects so that we can then direct you to the right appropriate agency to satisfy those needs. Think of us as the hub of a wheel and then the spokes leading out to our partners, which then can assist you in finding the financing that you need or learning about what grants are available and so on.
And so how does the help desk offer this assistance? I understand that they offer it through a chat and they also offer it through a helpline. So can you tell me a little bit more about that?
Sure. So we have a helpline, sort of the old-fashioned way of reaching any government agency, and that's a telephone number, 1-800-JERSEY-7. So 1-800 and then Jersey and then the number 7. And our staff are available there to answer your questions. But the new way that people have been contacting us started about the time of the pandemic and has exploded in its popularity as a live chat. The live chat means you go on to, there's a couple of websites you can access it through. One is our website, which is nj.gov/state/BAC. And you can go into that live chat, ask your question, and then the staff within my office will respond. You can also use the innovation team's business website, which is business.nj.gov. That's the more popular way that people get to us because it is a website that's going to pop up on your Google searches more often, but business.nj.gov. And the way it works is you're going to ask your question during normal business hours, although we get a lot of questions outside of business hours. Even on Thanksgiving, I was answering questions. And we then respond. Typically, our average is 10 minutes or less. So you're going to get a response fairly quickly. And then that response could be a referral to another agency. It could be a request to provide us with additional information where we may be able to advocate for you for a particular question. I can explain that in a second. Or if it's a question about taxes, for example, I don't have access to your tax records because those are confidential, and so under the law that I'm not able to access them. But we can take that conversation directly within the chat and transfer it to a representative from taxation, and they can answer your questions. We can do the same thing for the EDA, which is the Economic Development Authority. They are the primary financial institution for the state. They're the bank for the state. They loan money to business owner, not a depository institution, but a lending institution. We can also connect you with employer accounts over in the Department of Labor, who handles the record keeping for your unemployment benefits and the disability and other state employer obligations. And we can connect you, this is a sort of a pilot right now, but we can also connect you to the Division of Consumer Affairs concerning one license, which is the Home Improvement Contractor's License. So we have multiple ways we can connect you to different agencies without ever leaving the chat environment. So that's how we use it. And now I mentioned advocacy. So if you call me up and you contact us through the live chat and you have a complicated issue that we can't solve through the live chat, it would be not practical to try to have a conversation through the live chat to help you. We can escalate that to what we call our advocacy team. So some of my staff will take that conversation. They may refer you to other staff members outside of the small business group. For example, member of our export team, or it could be our advocacy team, which work on projects, which you can hear about in some of these other podcasts. But if you have a small business matter that needs some assistance, we can take on that, reach out to the other agencies that are involved and see if we can assist you to navigate that process. So that's where we escalate to an advocacy unit. But for the vast majority of the conversations that we have, we can assist you by simply sending you to the appropriate resource with some explanation on the process and getting your issue resolved in a very efficient way.
So you are the great connector, obviously, for small businesses and entrepreneurs, making sure that they are connected to the right agencies and that they get the right resources. How many connections are we talking about, Don? Are we talking about in the thousands that you're connecting, on a yearly basis?
We are talking to about 1,000 people on the live chat, business owners on the live chat alone every week.
Wow.
Yeah. So we talk to a lot of people over the course of the year. So yeah, I use the number 15,000. I could probably update that now, but about 15,000 different conversations we have every year through the live chat. And then where I thought that question was going was the resource providers. How many resource providers do we have? And that's dozens. We do an event where we have between 30 and 40 different resource providers in the same room with the business owners. There are a lot of resources out there that can help a small business that people are just not aware of. One of my favorites is the library. People don't realize that they can go to your local public library to help with market research and to help with setting up a nonprofit. And there are resources available in places like that are taxpayer supported that people just aren't aware of. And that's what we try to help with.
So the Business Action Center is very good at having events like the Resources for Growth, where you bring all your resource providers together in one room, and then we invite businesses to come in and basically talk to those resource providers so that they have an opportunity to make those connections. So how many of the Resources for Growth events do you have in a year?
We typically have 3 a year, and we do, again, between 30 and 40 resource providers all in one room. And over the course of a few hours, people can come and speak to each of them. It is an extremely valuable event for small business owners especially, because you get to learn about resources that I guarantee you didn't know about before you walk in the door. And I say that because I learned something. I've done it probably over 20 times now, these events over the 21 years that I've been with the state. And I learn something new every time I go, because every year, there's new programs and new initiatives. And as I walk the tables and talk to the different resource providers, I find out about a new program or a new initiative or a new grant that the EDA is offering every time I go. So I know that if this is your first time there, you're going to learn quite a bit about what is available to a business owner.
So one of the valuable tools that the Office of Small Business Advocacy has driven to the business community is the Small Business Manual, which is available in both English and Spanish, and it's really a great tool. Can you walk me through what's included in that Small Business Manual?
Sure. I mentioned earlier that business.nj.gov is a website that the State Office of Innovation created to help businesses. And the people that created that website are primarily computer guys, IT people. The content that they got, at least initially, came from our office, from the Business Action Center. And that built out the content that populated the business.nj.gov site. And it's now expanded to include content providers from other agencies as well. We took that concept and we edited down the important topics that the business manual addresses, like how do I register a business, information about the different structures, information about your licensing requirements, your employer requirements. And we condensed it down into about a 30-page manual that is a great resource that you should have sitting on your shelf behind you in your office if you're a business owner. And we offer it in both English and Spanish. You can download an electronic copy of the manual, which is the easiest way to get it, off of the Business Action Center's website, which I already mentioned, nj.gov/state/BAC. You can also order a hard copy of that manual. We fulfill them at least once a week, and so you'll have it in a few days after going on that same website and ordering the hard copy. So whether you want a soft copy or a hard copy, it's a great resource for you to keep handy to learn about different aspects of operating a business in the state of New Jersey. Or you can go to business.nj.gov for the full content that is available on that site.
So now you have mentioned that the New Jersey Business Action Center partners with so many organizations, groups like the Small Business Development Centers, the Economic Development Organizations, and Chambers of Commerce. Now, how do these partnerships help to strengthen the services that you deliver?
Well, as I mentioned earlier, our job is to connect you to the resources that are available. Having the connections with these organizations can help you in a great deal of ways. Small Business Development Center is a technical assistance center. They provide technical assistance to your business. We have a group of lenders. Some of them are SBA lenders. We also have the EDA, as I mentioned before, is also a lender. So they can provide you with financial assistance. They have grant programs through Economic Development Authority primarily. We have a small grant program as well for exporters. And then there's also energy efficiency grants. There are grants for hiring new employees. There are a lot of grant opportunities out there that are geared for very specific purposes. So I don't want to give anyone the false impression that if they need working capital, they can come and get a free money for that. It's not the way it works, but I'm happy to have that conversation with anyone. So we are able to, by those connections, we're able to provide that service. And then our outreach. I do a lot of speaking engagements with organizations like the chambers, local economic development groups, the county economic development teams, even municipalities. And one of the things that happens at that event, one of the first questions I always ask is, how many people have ever heard of the Business Action Center? And what is really surprising, since we've been around for so long, is that you'll only get one or two people in the room. And usually those are the people that invited me in the first place that have ever heard of us. So the connections with those organizations so that I can appear at their events, that I can speak to their membership, to spread the word about the resources that are available, that is an invaluable tool that we have that hopefully this podcast just adds to by making people aware that they're not alone, that the business owner has some help, that the state is, as I know you like to say, we're here and we're here to help you. That's why those connections are so valuable. Not only do they provide services to the business community, but they provide us with an opportunity to talk to the business community so that we can teach them about the resources that are available.
So while we have you here today, Don, I think it's really important to talk about some of the common obstacles small business owners face and how we can really help them overcome those challenges.
Sure. Academics will tell you that the biggest mistake a small business owner makes is being undercapitalized, meaning not having enough cash on hand as they start. And I disagree with that a little bit. And I think the experts are starting to come on my side of this as well. But the real problem is lack of planning. A good business plan is going to have things like realistic financial projections, cash flow projections. And where businesses make a mistake is not having a good business plan, not planning for events that may come up that they did not expect, and therefore increasing the chances of disaster. So through our organization, we can send you to resources that will help you develop a good business plan, learn how to track your finances, learn how to do cash flow projections, and anticipate a problem so that you can respond to it accordingly. The reason, the effect of not having a good plan is the problems with cash flow and with financing. Oh, and marketing. Businesses don't do a sufficient market research before they launch. I can't tell you how many times I've spoken to businesses and I'll talk to them for 20 minutes and then I'll finally have to say to them, well, what are you selling? I don't understand everything you've told me. I still don't understand what you're selling and who's going to be buying it. That's market research, understanding who your customers are and who you're going to be selling to. And that all of those planning functions are what is the biggest challenge for a business owner because they don't do that planning and therefore they find out later that they have a problem. And then I mentioned things that you may not have anticipated originally. I have several times over my career dealt with businesses that were on an area where because of a local issue ran into a problem, like a bridge closing or a road construction being done or the pandemic, not being prepared for maximizing their other aspects of their business besides something that's been affected by this kind of a disaster. So if people can't get to your business, then you better figure out a way to do e-commerce. If people can't get to your store, you need to figure out a way to keep engaged with your customers. All of those things that we can talk about, and we can send you to an organization like the Small Business Development Center or SCORE or many other organizations that can help you, women's business centers, that can help you navigate those kinds of times and make sure that you're in good shape to address those or you have the proper preparation before you start your business.
So clearly, for someone who's listening here today, who's thinking about starting a business in New Jersey, they would be silly if they did not call Don Newman or the Office of Small Business Advocacy to be able to get all that they need to know about starting a business. So, Don, just in closing today, what would be the very first step that you think a business should take? You had mentioned that they need a plan. And so that is clearly something that's really very, very, very important. And maybe you could go into a little bit more about financing.
Sure. So financing is really about projections. What is your cash flow projections? Realistically, identifying what your expenses are going to be and what your revenue is. I can't tell you how many times people have come to me and said, I'm going to make $1 million my first year. No, you're not. That's unrealistic. So you need to figure out what some realistic numbers, and there are ways to do the research on that. And the Small Business Development Center can help you. I also recommend that everyone go to business.nj.gov and start a personalized guide for your business. That is basically a checklist of the different steps that you need to accomplish when you start your business. Now, you could form and register a business right in that platform. You may want to hold off on that step, actually exercising that step, until you have your business plan. But that's also a great tool for you to start with. So go start your personalized guide. Go to the resources for mentoring and counseling services. By the way, if you go to nj.gov/state/BAC, we have a mentoring matchmaking platform. You can go on there, answer some onboarding questions, and you'll get a list of organizations that will help businesses develop a business plan. I would tell you that you can only select one of those businesses, and we will then reach out. That organization will reach back out to you to set up an appointment. But that's a technical reason. There's only technical reasons why you have to do that. You're perfectly welcome to go back in, re-answer those questions, select a different organization that you want to work with, and then you can decide which one you want to continue on after you've had your initial conversations. So that might be the Small Business Development Center, it might be SCORE, it might be the Women's Business Center, it could be the UCEDC. So there are organizations out there that may take a little different approach, and you'll find find one that you're most comfortable with. They can start helping you with the business plan. So find yourself a counselor or a mentor. Go to business.nj.gov and start your personalized guide. And then when you're ready, you can pull the trigger and actually start your business.
So obviously, the Office of Small Business Advocacy is a very, very valuable resource for small businesses, entrepreneurs, and those who are starting a business in New Jersey. And it's just how we get them to call you at 1-800-JERSEY-7, go to business.nj.gov, and get on the chat. And so, Don, I want to thank you so very, very much for being here today, and we appreciate all your service to the business community.
Well, thank you. It was a pleasure. I'm happy to be here.
Thanks for listening to Thrive, the New Jersey Business Action Center's podcast. To learn more about the resources and programs discussed today, visit nj.gov/state/BAC. Don't forget to share this episode with a fellow New Jersey business owner who's ready to grow. Until next time, keep moving your business and New Jersey forward.